This is All About the Song.
Welcome to the 110th episode of All About the Song. I am your host, Michael McDonnell, and thank you for joining us. On the podcast today, we have Alexander Saint. Now, Alexander Saint, also known as Alex St. Kitts, has been on the podcast before. He is a singer, songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist, an incredible bass player. But today we are here to talk about his most recent release, which is his single, The Light. It's an absolutely fantastic and beautiful song, and I was so excited to talk to Alex about it. When we recorded this podcast, Alex had just released the song the day before, so we got a fresh feel for having it be released, and we was really excited to capture that energy in a podcast. I'm sure that you're really going to enjoy it. And do yourself a favor, check out the song The Light. All the links are featured in the description below. We are very new to video, but it's very exciting to do it, and I'm really glad to bring this fun conversation to you in not only audio, but video. And now a quick word from our friends and sponsors. Today we are brought to you by some sponsors, which is a very, very awesome scenario and situation to be in. Hailed Coffee, which is a fantastic coffee house in Toronto. They're located at Gerrard and Bay, just behind College Park. Their coffee is constantly among the top 10 coffee houses in Toronto. They have ground beans. They've got coffee you can purchase. There's chocolate. There's cookies. We've tried them all. They're really, really good. It is a really hard time, and winter is coming up, so they are doing online orders. So be sure to check out Hailed Coffee. We would like to say again, thank you so much to them for being a sponsor of All About the Song. Shop local. Support those around you. Let's keep all the businesses open during this time. And especially if you are a coffee drinker, you've got to try Hailed. Thank you to Richard Atkin. He's a friend of the podcast, and we're working on a little bit of a secret project. But Richard is a person that we've met that has been really, he really wants to support the community, the artistic community in Canada. He himself has graduated from music production, and he works for an animation company. Rich is the founder and CEO of Flickly, which is a premier video animation studio. He works with large brands and enterprises across the globe, and he'll be working with us All About the Song and the Sounds Like Song network. So we are really excited to see this partnership flourish. Learn more about Rich and his work at Flickly at flickly.com. It's spelled FLIKLI.com, and connect with him on LinkedIn. So here we are, episode 110, All About the Song, featuring Alexander Saint. Alexander Saint, congratulations.
Thank you.
The new song, The Light, is out yesterday. So this podcast is going to come out in a couple weeks, but this is like the first 24 hours.
I mean, you can still listen to it. It's not going anywhere.
How does it feel for it to be out? What's the response been like so far?
It's been crazy, man. I mean, a lot of people have asked me, because you know me as Alex and Kitts, and a lot of people have known me as Alex and Kitts for a long time. And I have music under that name, but a lot of people ask me, why change the name? Why do all this? And it's really so I can start making music the way that I really want to make it.
Yeah.
And like not have that interference of people being like, well, you play bass, it must be like, slap some, you're going to like, and people focusing on that aspect and rather focusing on it as a whole. So I found by doing this, by having that separation, the response has been incredible.
Yeah.
Ross' response has been like, to be honest, it's done, this one single in one day has done more than the EPs that I put out as Alex and Kitts combined.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? But it makes sense because it's a lot of it's like taking the time to find myself and taking the time to find out what I actually want to say and who I actually want to be. And like, never want to be fake. I never want to put on anything, but you want to pick the parts that you want people to see and notice about you and like be like, wow, I identify with that. And I think I like really took the time to do that and find something great,
Absolutely. Well, I mean, first and foremost, the song is amazing.
Thank you.
Like
Yeah.
it's really cool. Listening to it this morning, I had like I was unsure as to what it would be, but I had a feeling that because it had been a bit of time since you had released the EPs,
Mm-hmm.
and even where we left off in conversation from the last time,
Yeah.
I think you were looking to focus your energy in a sense, or like just direct it. And what was really amazing listening to this is it was different than the Projector series,
Yeah.
but it was just such a unbelievable song.
Thank you.
It was really good. And I understand your point too about differentiating from the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
This song, not that I expected it, it had great bass on it, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like a Victor Wooten song or something.
No, yeah. I think that's a lot of people, like maybe not to that extent, but people have seen me do that, either the Victor Wooten kind of stuff or even like a more, melodic kind of way of approaching it. And it's cool. I love doing that stuff, but it's not who I wanted to be with this. And I've tried to like, not distance myself, but just make a really clear separation. Like this guy does this, and it's very strange for me to be talking about myself and like that person, but like, it's like he does that, like, and I do this as when I'm in this form, I guess, when I'm writing these songs and like when I'm producing these songs and putting it out, like this is what I do. I don't think about that guy's a hired gun. Like,
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then when people want Alex, the bass player, he's still there. It's still the same guy, but it's just like, I don't put them together so much anymore. You know what I mean? I still like utilize those skills, as you'll see in like videos that I'm coming out with. And like, the songs, you can still hear me playing bass. And like, I played everything, produced everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you're still going to get me, but I just wanted it to be a really clear separation between the two.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I purposely chose to play like rhythm guitar just to be like, I want to keep those two things separate. I think that you're known as a bass player in a different level because you are so friggin' good. No, like, anyway, I won't go on and on, but
Okay.
I would.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I enjoy watching you play bass. It's like a pastime for me.
I still enjoy playing
Yeah.
it, right? Like artists I'll still play for, but I just needed this. This is like my thing, and I needed people to know that.
Yeah, this song was just so, it's such a single, but the way that you have it almost, it's atmospheric when it comes in.
Yeah.
But it keeps this epicness too.
Thanks.
And then the groove comes in. It was really cool because the whole presentation, the way that it came out, the artwork behind it, it was just so cool. And it's really amazing that the song is followed up by something so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, man.
Doing this yourself or doing basically all of it from beginning, middle, and release.
Mm-hmm.
What was this process like for you?
I mean, and for a lot of artists, like, and I'm sure you could attest to because you're an artist too, like, it's taken a lot of time, and like, this has been in my mind, like I had the idea to be Alexander Saint at pretty much the end of the Projector when I released the last Projector 3. I wanted to differentiate it because that was constantly happening. People didn't, and to be fair to people, like I just wanted to release music, so I just made whatever like on that record. There's like Motown and like hard rock and like neo soul stuff, but like I was like, well, what do I want to do? What do I actually want to be? So in creating this, I had to really pull it all together. Like I'm sure you're saying I had like a million songs, like just kind of sifted through all of them, kind of like went through it, kind of was like, okay, that works, that doesn't work. Okay, how do I want people to perceive this part? Like, how much bass do I actually want to play? Like, what are the lyrics actually saying? Like, what do I want to tell people about myself? And the thing that always rang true throughout it, and it ran true in the Projector as well, but more for this was like honesty, like nothing but honesty. And a lot of people would tell me like, well, you need more than that. But look at the time we're living in when we're all at home and we're all like looking for something that is actually real. Like, you know what I mean? Like not through a screen, not being lied to about all the things that are happening in the world, and like not feeling this hate. Like, and I just wanted to be honest. And I think that's what people need right now. So I really tried to pour that into The Light. And and the funny thing about The Light is that's a song I wrote like in the Projector time. And that's the one that kind of like came to the forefront now and was like, this is like perfect for like how I feel about what's going on and how what's happening in the world and how we could all use like a bit more of this, light in our lives to get away from this darkness that's just surrounding us constantly. You know what I mean? It's yeah, and it was fun because I did try to, I've worked with a couple of producers before, and I really wanted to produce it all myself. I really wanted to have that skill, and I couldn't have done it without my friend Mark Calderon, who goes by Nice Mark, who's like a great guitar player, great singer, great producer, great mixer. So he helped me mix, and it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, which is great. And then we both worked on the graphic design, like the artwork that you're talking about, like I made that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I made like everything that you see. And the thing is, you can't do it all yourself. And I realized that by doing this project. So I would like just send things out to people like, hey, what do you think? Like, what do you like next time? And definitely send something to you to be like, what do you think about this? And I just take people's opinions and either be like, okay, that's good. Okay. And, and kind of like formulate something. So it was really fun, like to be on your own. And I mean, not on my own, but like have everything under one roof.
There is a community around, and I think too, more than in previous iterations of when music was played, especially like with you and I playing music, now is a spot where everyone's kind of, regardless of if you're tethered to an instrument or a specific job, it's now becoming a all-encompassing thing. Like you should be able to write, record, produce, release the song yourself, or you're being at least asked to.
Right.
Since you're being asked to and everyone else is also being asked to, it's great to be able to ask your community and be like, what do you think? Because they're kind of in the same boat as you are.
Totally. It was really like the same with like the reception that I've been getting for the song is the same way I felt with like the people in this community that I really trust and really respect and reach out to. And there's like, and I know the argument for a lot of people is oh, well, like, but what about going to the studio and like doing all this stuff and it's like, dude, you could totally go to a studio, but A, who has the money to go to a studio? And B, like, I'm like, for me personally, I'm living in a time where like last year I was gigging and like, very thankfully, I was gigging probably 3-4 times a week, learning everybody's songs, doing rehearsals, being the bass player. So I didn't have time to focus on, but now I have the time to focus on. I'm like, what's stopping me from actually doing this all myself or like taking a crack at it? Like, how far can I actually go if I sit here for, I kid you not, like 6 or 7 hours and figure out how this works? Or like, even in Logic, I spent so much time, like since the beginning of this quarantine, or Logic, Ableton, however you want to work, just any DAW, figuring out how does this work? How can I do this? How does this sound? Oh, what is my vocal chain? How does my vocal sound through this? Oh, what do I want my vocals? You know what I mean? Like just the time that's never been afforded to me, I finally had. Yeah. Which really translates through this new stuff that's coming out now, the Alexander Saint stuff, which is great.
Did you find it was hard to start? Like, so I'll frame it in the way I'm looking at it. As someone who last night recorded a guitar track and was like, okay, that's the gist of the song. Yeah. Now I'm going to have a panic attack, because it's like, what do you do next? Like you schlubbed your way through your first track and now you're going to start, or you've got all your tracks and you're now looking at it going, now what? This is usually when I send it off to someone and say, like, you're the mix guy, or what do you, does this need an extra long chorus? Like, what was that initial experience like with the song? I mean,
I've kind of been floating with it like a lot in a lot of different ways. And the way that I kind of worked at first I'll explain how I worked before. So before I would just like sit on it for a while because I didn't have the time to actually like, just sit, like have a whole day and like work on it or whatever. So I'd sit on it. But in this time, I hit the gate running and like we've all gone through waves. So I've had a lot of downs and a lot of ups, but like now I'm kind of at a place that's in a good creative space. And I'll make something and just like sit there with it and like try like silly things. Like maybe it's like some, like, I don't know if this needs a guitar, but like, let me put a guitar in. I don't know if this needs this, but let me try a bass line. Like, let me just like, and I'll just start recording things. And then, and this is such a testament to the projector. Like that's something that I also produced mostly. I had a co-producer who was my engineer, and I would record too much. Right. And then leave it. Because I thought that's the way it sounds. And I listen back to it now. I'm like, it's so dense. Like everything's going on. Like you can't, like the song itself gets buried under like what's happening. I mean, I had great players like Casey Roberts and Chino Davila and like all these amazing local Toronto musicians. Sam Pamonte, who also goes by Kitsuna, who's amazing. You should check that guy out. You should get that guy on here.
Okay.
But I might be name dropping because I love these people, and I'm like, and that's the big thing for me in this whole time is like I want everybody to succeed as artists and musicians. But sorry to get real quick to the
go ahead.
Yeah, back to the other thing. For this new stuff, I'll do the same process. I'll add as much as, I think it needs. And then now I'll sit there, and actually a good friend told me this, I'll sit there and be like, okay, what, like if I even look at the names of things, like what doesn't fit? Like, and I'll look at something and be like, I don't think it needs that. I don't think it needs, okay, maybe just for this part. Okay, maybe, and then I'll keep doing that until I have like a more refined version with way less tracks usually. And then, and then I'll add the vocals, and then I might be like, oh, that's messing with this. And then I'll, you know what I mean? It's a process. It's really trusting your instinct as an artist, which I think a lot of artists are afraid to do because everybody's been told, yeah, you need a producer though. It needs to sound slick. And I don't doubt it needs to sound slick, but you might have a better idea of what your song sounds like than a producer will. That's why and I'm not opposed to working with producers, but I love working on my own stuff and producing it first. So when I bring it to a producer, I'm like, this is what it is. Like, can you make it shine now? Like, you know what I mean? If I can't get it there, can you like bump it up? And a lot of producers want to just get in at the ground floor and like work on it. But I'm interested in working with people that respect that and respect what I'm trying to do. And
I think that I thought you would talk to a producer by saying, okay, this is my shitty demo on a cassette tape. Here are 3 of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Or dramatic, like, let's take this song, but mix it with this song and this song, and expect that someone would interpret that the same way I would.
Yeah.
When you're able to bring a producer a session, you don't really have to say anything. I
mean, you do kind of, because I forgot to mention that was a great point. Like the references are huge. Yeah. It really gives people like a friend. And like for me, a long time, I hated giving people references because I was afraid that that's what they
would be like, oh, that's your song.
Yeah, and kind of like, that's what that reminds me of, as opposed to like, oh, this is something cool, and like, oh, I want to work on this. So references are very important, and for this track, for The Light especially, James Blake was a reference.
Okay.
Massive Attack, you can definitely hear that like teardrop, like Massive Attack thing was a reference. Somebody else said to me, it sounds a lot like Seal, which I was like, dope.
Okay, so here are my 2.
Yeah.
Seal.
Yeah.
But like very Batman Forever vibe.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Millennium by Robbie Williams.
Ooh.
Don't know why. I
gotta check that out.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
There's just like a vibe about it.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh man, that's and I could listen to Millennium later and be like, you were wrong, because it's just in my head. It's that same feeling.
No, I feel it.
Music video. Oh, it's just so. Anyways, check out that song just in case.
I'll check it out. But another reference that actually a lot of people said to me that I forgot until just you said that was is like Skyfall by Adele.
Yeah,
it has like serious Skyfall, like James Bond kind of. I was like, oh, cool, because it's funny when you're making these things. I don't necessarily think about it. Actually, the Massive Attack, because it just like that drum beat right away. I was like, that sounds like Teardrop. But like everything else that people have been saying to me, I was like, oh, I didn't hear that. Like when they said to me Skyfall, I was like, oh yeah, it does kind of like you'd go and A/B them, and it gives you like as an artist like a better reference for like what you want to do after. So I'm getting all this like awesome information from people, and it just fuels like even more like the artist I want to be, and like the songs I want to create, and the messages I want to put out. And like I watched Skyfall, I watched Adele stuff, I watched a bunch of Seal videos, like even the ones like Bring It On, like all those old Seal videos, and I'm just like watching, I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. Like finding things that I would never thought of that people are telling me, and like kind of like seeing how they play with this new stuff.
Yeah. I also like some of those videos that you watch and you go, oh, I remember watching this on Much Music like 700 times, while I go on. With the, my friend is actually doing a documentary, and really? I sent the song to him because I was like, I think this is the vibe you're going for. But it also like, it's a testament to it being a good song that it's versatile in the sense that everyone hears it in something.
Yeah.
It kind of I find that that's kind of like a testament to that it's like on the pulse in a sense.
I think so. I mean, it just comes back to what I said earlier about the artist I wanted to be, which is just always honest, like, and that can encompass whatever that might change in my life or in people's lives and in the world. But I just want to like tell, my story and like stories I perceive through other people and like human stories that, I find are severely lacking in a lot of music these days. Like it's just easier to hop on the train and be that, what I mean? But I just want to be honest, and I don't know. And you could be talking to me 10 years from now, and I might be like having some gold chains, being like, "Yeah, man, that honesty, that was played, man." Like I don't know. Like it's hard to say as an artist where you're gonna go.
Totally, but that's also kind of the beautiful thing is that you could say, "Man, last time I was on, I was totally wrong." But that's like okay because the part of your journey will also allow you to be the musician that you are at the current moment.
Exactly.
With honesty,
yes.
I will say that it's been an interesting, but also breath of fresh air. Some of the social media takes that you've had with current climate, with being a musician, with the things going on. I don't want to go into too much if you don't want to.
No,
but I thought it was really unique because there was all of a sudden there was a lot of push about music venues, like save the music venue, save the music venue, and I thought about it and I feel the same about any brick and mortar place.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot that was brought up with regards to the artist.
No.
And you highlighted it in a very succinct post. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very good to bring up.
Yeah, it's good. All I want is just to get people talking because to be honest, there was probably a week in June. I went after like a lot of people. I was just like trying to get answers. Because I found a lot of some of these venues were utilizing artists and musicians as their poster children for this marketing campaign to save the venues, which I'm not opposed to venues shutting down. I'm opposed to you using artists as a means to get what you need and then worry about them later. And their argument a lot of the time was, well, artists can't play without the venues. And I'm like, dude, I've been playing live streams. I can go, if I really wanted to, I could go set up a show right now. And like, you know what I mean? And this isn't a thing of a me against the venues. I think it was earlier. I think when I first started, I was like trying to fight back on them, but I'm with a lot of venues. There's a lot of venues that support like, Cameron House or like a lot of really great venues that have always supported musicians and always want to work together. It's more the ones that just like, I got called for a gig. I'm not going to mention the venue or who called me, but I got called for a gig about 3 weeks ago and they're like $75, 3 hours. And I was like, no, like, why are you going to play? Like, I was just so confused because under those risks, under those conditions, and still you're not getting paid for like a specialized skill. And it was so crazy. I asked them like, why are you going to play if you don't mind asking? They're like, oh, I just want to play. And like in my mind, I'm like, no, because if you just want to play, honestly, I can go set up a stage for you in my backyard and invite some people over if that's really what you want. I'll do it for you for free. Mm-hmm. Or I might even pay you $75 not to go there. But you know what I mean? Like, because it's just ridiculous. Like it's perpetuating this toxic system that arts and music and culture aren't linked and aren't worth anything. Mm-hmm. Which is to me and like to all of us who are creatives, it's like no, like you watch the culture already. You remember Queen Street, like even 10 years ago, Queen Street. And now there's like an anthropology there. It's like not cool to like hang out there. Like I wouldn't be like, hey guys, let's go down there to hang. Or like it's even happening near like the Rex and stuff like that. It's like, why would you're just driving out all the artists and you're driving out all the culture out of your own city. And
it's been happening for a long time.
It has. Yeah, that's
true.
It's
been happening since 1980 when the Much Music building was bought. Basically, culture has been spreading. And I mean, look at Yorkville.
Yeah.
The concept of artistry in Yorkville is the brass signs that say what used to be cool here. And that's where you have huge universal artists like Gordon Lightfoot, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, James Taylor, performing in Kensington Market, Yorkville, all of these places, all the bands that we knew growing up, like even like Sum 41 getting signed off a showcase at the Opera House. And some of these venues are still there, but the scene around them is just so different.
Yeah,
and
it's almost non-existent sometimes.
Well, I look also at some of the different artistries that you have to use a venue, like comedy, for example.
Yep.
I don't want to say it's perfect or better, but I think that the idea of putting on a show and having a show promoter and the venue, it's kind of places like almost like a wedding reception hall in the sense that we're the venue, we'll take the drinks, and then you guys take the door.
Yeah.
And you fill the show up. You can only charge so much.
Yeah.
A drink at this point is large. And I know that there's big expense and stuff like that, but I do feel like there needs to be some sort of merger.
Oh, yeah.
And the venue and the artist or the booker have to work more in tandem.
Yeah.
And I feel like that it's really difficult because you're trying to do shows 7 nights a week to stay ahead as a venue.
Right.
But an artist isn't going to be able to stay an artist if their day rate is $75.
It's true. I mean, it's a different no, that's all connected. I was going to say it was there, but there's like, there's 3 points I wanted to bring up. There's like, the venues themselves have to become subsidized cultural art spaces by the government. They need to break a lot of breaks. So when I talk to a lot of these venues, it's unfair what they're getting charged for really the service they're providing the community, which is more than a bar. It's a space for artists to grow, and a space for culture to also grow, but they have to pay like $9,000 or like something, and then on top of that, pay for their, liquor, and then, think about their employees and think about all these other things. And it's like, I get that, and the crazy thing is there's a lot of venues that still throughout that support artists, like pay them fairly and like try their best.
Yes.
And like are always upfront about it. But the amount of venues that aren't need to change. And the other point I want to bring up is like, for artists, we need to start charging more for art. Like, don't be afraid to charge. Yeah, that's right. We got some thumbs up. Don't be. I'm sure some people it's going to be very divided. Some people are going to be like, well, then we won't get the kids. Like, okay. See, this is the road we got on now. Because you asked me, it doesn't matter. Like, art needs to be respected as a skill, and it needs to be respected. And I get it that like there's people coming up that like, might have to charge a little bit less, like as an artist. I'm talking strictly as artists and creators right now. I'll get to musicians in a second. Artists and creators, because I know you're straight up, but like, why don't we create more things as a community to like help them? Like, I don't understand how it's like always, the thing about Toronto especially, and I know I'm going to get a lot of like no nods from people. It's like, we're not a community together in music. There's a lot of artists who are always fighting each other for different things when we should be working together, and we should be being like, yeah, it's $40 for like 3 bands because you just paid $85 to $90 to go see somebody else, like one band that you really like, but you don't want to invest in our culture. You don't want to invest in people that like you say rehearse every week. You don't want to invest in people that write these songs, put their hearts into it, come out to like give you the best that they have. You want to shortchange them and go buy a latte for $15, but not spend $15 on like, what are those bills? We played like 5 bands on like one bill for like, I played those bills. I'm never playing them again. When we can go back to playing like whatever normal is, you better believe I'm charging like $30-$40. Like if me and you were on a bill, it's like, and people in the argument is, sorry.
No, keep going. I like it.
There's the argument that a lot of musicians have been giving me are like, well, we can't fill the house that way. Like we can't, we need the, it's like, let me ask you this. Would you rather have a full house and you walk away with no money? Or would you rather have maybe half of that audience that paid like double to triple that money and you actually made a good night? Like you can actually survive. You can actually like plan for the next release. And if you have musicians, you can actually pay them. You can actually, without always calling in favors, because those favors, as we know, run dry really quickly.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect where I think as a community, everybody just needs to be like, yeah, it's fucking, oh, sorry.
No, you can swear.
I can swear? Okay. I've been holding that in this whole time. I was doing so well. And then, fuck yeah. Okay, great. So you'd rather be going and, playing like anyways, I'm going to leave that because I'm losing my train of thought. But then the musicians, if you're a professional musician and like people, and there's a bunch of variables that I don't have the answers to. A lot of people are like, what if you went to school? What if you're a student or whatever? Well, then you still have to learn if you're a student, and you should know that there's a flat rate. Like let's say a 3-hour call, and this is just something that is like, it's not worked out. This is just like off the top of my head. It's like, let's say you want me to go play that 3-hour gig. It's like $150 for the 3 hours at least. And then anything past that, we negotiate. If you want to be a club that negotiates, we negotiate. If not, then you have a contracted rate of like how much per hour after that it's going to be, or even half an hour. Because I know sometimes people, hey, can you play an extra song? I'm like, sure, that's an extra $50 for that half an hour.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's not new anywhere. That's only new to the music industry because nobody wants to embrace it because they're afraid they're going to lose a gig. They're afraid they're going to lose connections. They're afraid somebody else is going to take their gig, which is sure, maybe somebody will take your gig. But then what will happen is if we all agree upon this rate, all the professionals will be over here. And all the people that are not and are still playing those gigs, people and the venues that employ these people, and that's what they're doing, employing these people like we're contractors, will see how quickly it's not worth that money.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think that too is that once you get so a lot, I think even me in my head thinking about it, like $30-$40. Okay, let me think about that. But if I were to call a plumber, or if I were to call a painter, or if I were, that would be a $30-$40.
It's a great deal
$50-$60.
for a plumber, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And okay, so is music the same as like a trade and stuff like that? Yes, it is. Look at COVID, for example. The first thing that happened with the lockdown was live streams. We need music. We need movies. We need all
content.
Like, we need it. We need it. All of a sudden, content isn't just this background noise, which it had become.
Yeah. Agreed.
As I don't know how you feel about the presence of an audience at a live show, but it was starting to become a little bit of a sour note with me.
And that's what you get what you pay for, right? On that note, it's like you paid $10. You're like, whatever, I paid $10. I can go just like, whatever, I'll talk to my friends, which is fine. I honestly at shows, I don't have problems.
Totally, you're right. You paid to be there.
You paid to be there, but like,
it
doesn't give you
more
ownership. Like, you know what I mean? If you pay $30 or $40, don't you want a little more? And don't you want to like be like, oh, I paid some money for this. I better like pay attention and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to being disposable, be like, yeah, whatever, they'll play and blah, blah, blah. And they go sit at a bar or somewhere if that's what you want. But like Toronto people are going to get angry at me for saying this, is Toronto people want to be the ones that are there, but you're not there. You want everybody to know I was there. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, yeah, I was there. It was cool, man. It's cool. Like, what did they play?
But were you
like,
there or were you just on your phone?
No, they're just like, yeah, I went, and I've been a culprit of that too. Cause it's just
me too.
I can't be exempt from that. Like I'm not exempt.
I'm the worst.
But it's a fact and we got to own up to it. That's
totally. But I do think also is that if you do create a premium atmosphere, and let's back to your single, for example, one of the things that I think you did with this is that you created a premium atmosphere. Like you gave the right amount of time to promote it and have it to become anticipated. And then you released it and you received acclaim from your peers and outside, which was great. But I think that that's something that, if you show that the preparation went into and the attention of detail was taken care of, the outcome is so much more.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times shows are just thrown together.
Yeah.
And so Drum Tabernacle, for example, in Toronto is like a world music venue.
Yeah, yeah.
Or the Pilot, for example, when they do their jazz fests, it's part of the magic to watch the guy walk in 5 minutes before he plays and just like kind of be a little hungover or whatever. There's just like, there's certain venues that you're going to want to have this low key, like just stroll in and play kind of thing and make magic and make it like everyone kind of expects that. But there are other events that if you were able to create a larger admission for, you could make the show an experience.
Yeah.
And if an audience is bored, like you can put more into it on all facets, whether it be rehearsing more, lighting, someone to do the lights.
Yeah, do the sound. Because sometimes a lot of musicians have to do their own sounds. And that's usually, sometimes artists, but not, that's the rarity. But like musicians, a lot of times have to, venues are live music venues, but don't have sound people or the proper sound systems or the proper gear. So in term, and
because they're not getting paid to stay.
No. So in terms of the, on top of the fact that these people have to learn repertoire or like bring their own repertoire or like they got to bring their own gear and then they got to bring gear that should have already been there. And like my dad, like that's something you pay for because my dad's a singer and he runs a successful wedding company. And like if you want him to bring a system, you pay for the system.
Yeah.
Because like
George St. Kitts.
Yeah, George St. Kitts is my dad. Yeah, but that's just the way it is. And and you think anybody argues with him? Because they're like, oh yeah, we don't have one. Yeah, totally. We'll get it from you. And he's like, yeah, because it makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? But if they have one, then he will be like, no, whatever. This is the fee. But it's funny to me that there's some clubs in Toronto that's like, yeah, you got to bring everything. And like, we'll promote it. And that's the other thing. Promotion from some venues needs to come up. But it's also, a lot of artists are bad at it too. I can't fault just the venues. A lot of artists are very bad at promoting themselves. And like, there should be an agreed upon thing where you do like, okay, let's spend like $30 and like figure out, I've been learning a lot about Facebook ads and all that stuff and how that works, which is super interesting.
Yes.
Everybody should learn a bit about it. But like, if both parties kicked in $15 and like found the proper audiences and the proper channels to put them through to like, even like a week before the show, get like people that they know would come, but like are Toronto people and also like people that just forget because there's so much shit floating around the internet that it's hard to keep somebody's attention for more than 3 seconds. So it's like, if you get those people like, oh, you get an ad up there, it's like, oh, I forgot about this show. Oh, I'll totally be there. But like, I feel like a lot of that doesn't go into it. It's more of like, oh, we made a poster. It's like, posters are like, where did you put the poster? It's at the venue. I'm like, yeah. Well, maybe there's an internet, like maybe let's go there and,
Well, I think too is that like on all facets of it, if what we're asking for is to consider the artists in this, like the artist has to consider the event.
Yeah.
And that relationship has to be kind of put together.
Agreed.
And I think that, it would be amazing to say like, there should be like something like a venue showrunner, for example. And their job is to like, make sure that the events are working. But I think that the venue is not actually considering the artist to bring in the money. They're bringing in people to drink.
Right.
And a DJ can bring people in to drink, and a Saturday night can bring people in to drink. So let's just facilitate Tuesdays and Wednesdays and that kind of thing.
Figuring out what actually works.
And I think too, as we are going to one day go back to live shows and stuff, I think that it has to be like the standard on all sides. I think everyone's been bittered and soured.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And I think we do need like a refresh. And I'm hoping that a lockdown or a pandemic to have something taken away, because I'm sure that you've, even outside of musicians, seen a lot of people, even Instagram story being at like an outdoor patio or something and go, oh my God, I missed live music so much I could cry or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
It is a thing that we do need and we do love.
I agree.
Obviously you and I do, but
everybody needs it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it just needs to be handled with more care. And I really did appreciate you speaking out, because it is easy as an artist to just save the venue.
Yeah.
But you did do the deep dive and you looked into it and said like, well, wait a minute. This doesn't help. Because if the venues exist and the artists can't, what's the point?
There's no point. So it's just like it's a fragile ecosystem that has been, where artists have been taken advantage of consistently. And that's all I really wanted to say when I was investigating all that stuff. Because a lot of people are just, and I get it, a lot of venues are just trying to be like, we just want to stay open because it's our business. And I understand that. Like, but what happens when there's no art? Like you said, the artist can't even afford to, we can't get our numbers up. We can't, because we don't have representation. Like, what happens when we can't play there? Like, and we can't, you get frowned upon. Like, then what's the point? Like, then you might as well hire a DJ. Then you might as well just be like a club on King Street or whatever, and just, let the artists like breathe and like get themselves back. You know what I mean? Don't use us as your vehicle when you can't support us the way that you want us to support you.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it goes past the venue, it goes to the government.
Yep. 100%.
And it's not going to happen overnight. But I think that conversations like this will at least bring light to where we need to go.
I agree. Yeah, totally.
I wanted to ask you, so the last time you were on this podcast, you left it with like and who knows what's going to happen, which like 4 days later, you announced that you, as a bass player, did with Francesco Yates, you opened on the Justin Timberlake Man of the Woods tour.
Yeah. Was that only 4 days after that?
It was and that's what I loved about it, because you're kind of like, I'm just like hoping out for something, anything could happen. And then, song goes, outro goes.
Yeah,
and so then to see you do like this massive tour right after was I was just so happy, because it's true. Like, you never know what's going to happen. So I just really wanted to ask you what that experience was like.
Sure. Yeah. It was fantastic, man. It's like, it's the kind of thing that, I wanted so badly since I started playing bass, like since I started seeing what the possibilities were and where it could take me. And it was fun. The thing I miss now about it the most is like, we had a great crew of people working with us. Justin Timberlake's people were cool too. I got to hang out with a couple of them. A couple times. Very nice. I mean, it was weird because you'd always see them kind of like this, but the few times that you got to actually sit and hang out with them, like, you know, I got to hang out with Adam Blackstone for a little bit and got to hang out with like the band, like this credible bass player named Swole Ray and all these guys and girls and great people. And but I really miss like our crew. We actually have like a Thursday hang every now and again where we just get together and play games and like obviously over Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
But I miss that, and I miss seeing people and seeing places. And like I love playing bass, but a lot of people ask me throughout this, like, man, don't you like miss playing? And I'm like, my brain's in a whole nother place now, like with the light and with, you know, who I am as Alexander Saint and the artist I want to be and like person I want to be. It's very different now. I mean, if somebody offered me another tour, I would maybe not say no, but it's kind of like, I want to like really see how far I can take this thing that I've created, that I've had the time to create, and people are responding to it. But yeah, for that tour was great. I got to play Madison Square Gardens, which I didn't know if I'd ever think I'd be able to do. I got to play it twice, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you know what I mean? Not to rub it in, but I'm gonna rub it in a little.
I hope the second time you did it, you were like, oh yeah, you know, the bathroom's over there. It's on the left. Yeah, the first time I was here, I made the same mistake.
Frankie, what's up, buddy? And then some guy's like, who's he talking to? You know what I mean? No, it was great, man. It's just like so many great memories and so many great, you know, the thing that's cool about those shows, especially from Justin Timberlake, like front, because I'd watch a lot of his show.
Yeah.
Like it just made you realize that there are still like real fans of music out there, no matter what level, what genre. Like there's obviously some people there that I was talking about, like people that want to be seen at the show. But there was like so many people that were just like, you could see it in their face, just the experience of just seeing something like that and seeing this, and great music. Just to really, like, I would never thought I'd peg myself a fan, but holy shit, is that music good? Like, it's unbelievable, especially when you see it live. You're like, whoa, this is a whole nother ball game. But to see that on people's faces was like really inspiring, like a lot of time. Oh, and you got to see a couple celebrities too. That was always pretty
cool. Oh, no kidding. It's Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because at Madison Square Garden, I was fortunate enough to bring my dad. Be like, Dad, just come. If you find over, and my mom came the second time. So I was like, if you figure out how to get over here, and he was already on a plane by the time I said that. So like, I'll get you a pass. So I got him a pass. This was the first time when he came. Man, my dad's so funny. He's one of those. He's awesome, but he's slightly embarrassing Guyanese dad. So it's kind of like, oh my god, because he's I don't know if you ever met him, but he's so boisterous and like in a good way. Like he's like. You meet him one time and he's your friend. He's everybody's friend and he's very accommodating, but he was walking around those hallways like he owned Madison Square Garden. And I was like, Dad, you need to like calm down. He's like, whatever, it's fine. And he walked by Trevor Noah and he's like, Trevor! And like ran back and was like, dude, like they're old friends. Like it's like, oh man, it's so, but it was great, man. I loved having him there. He was really, that I think made me tear up a lot. Like I've been tearing up a lot the past couple of months, but you know, with this release and everybody like sending me these great messages, but that with my dad was just standing there with him in Madison Square Gardens, just like we're here. Like he's like, I'm so proud. I'm just like, oh man, am I crying?
That's amazing.
It's just, oh man, you can't. I could have told myself that 6 years ago if I could travel back to the past and be like, you're gonna do this and your dad's gonna be there. It's gonna be great. It's like he doesn't give a fuck. I'm like, no, it's going to be great. And my hopes that, okay, future self. Okay, whatever. Buddy. But it's like really amazing. It's really amazing experience. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, again, congratulations on The Light. It's out.
Hey.
Everyone check it out.
It's good.
What's next for Alexander Saint?
What's next for me? Just creating, just making more. There's more content coming out. We're talking about doing an acoustic version, which would be very cool. Yeah, very cool. And I'm doing a lyric video that I was thankful enough to get a grant through Canada Arts Council to do this lyric video. Yeah, so I'm making, and it's the same. And then what I pitched it to them was, I talk a lot. How I pitched it to them was, I want to learn everything in-house. I want to learn how to make these videos. And I showed them samples of things I've been working on. They were like, great, go. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I've been working on this video, which I'm taking crowdsourced components of people and, I've been putting it all together myself and learning how to video edit. So that should be out actually at the end of this month. And then I'm going to do like a live stream release party in the first couple weeks of October, I would say.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. Lots of stuff. Alexander Saint is up and running, and I ain't stopping for nobody. That's it.
I'd like to thank Alexander Saint for being on the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or a suggestion for a guest you'd like to hear on the podcast, send us an email, allaboutthesongpodcast@gmail.com. We are on YouTube. If you're looking at me now, you know. And if you would like to hear the audio form of this podcast or are listening to it, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Music Play, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And wherever you do, if you could rate and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sounds Like Songs Network on YouTube. Be sure to check out Tal Weisman's podcast, Everything But the Song, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So for Alexander Saint, I'm Michael McDonnell. We'll see you then.